All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're digging into a source document that it's all about a secret Chinese state project, one that supposedly aims to completely redefine the limits of human life, but only for a very, very select few. And it all kicks off with this absolutely startling claim, which the source document says comes from a report in the Daily Telegraph. I mean, listen to that. This isn't just about good healthcare. It's a claim about a quest for something close to immortality. And that idea, that's the foundation for everything we're about to unpack. So, you have to ask, how can an ambition that huge even be possible? Well, according to the source document, it all points to a highly secretive program that it calls the 981 Project. Now, according to the source, this isn't some new thing. It allegedly kicked off way back in 1959 with this one incredibly audacious goal: to keep the country's top-level elites alive for 150 years. And the main way to do that? Through on-demand access to advanced organ replacement. And this right here gets to the absolute core of the allegation. The project isn't framed as being for the public good. Not at all. Instead, the source positions it as a fundamental tool for holding on to power, making sure a tiny group at the very top can maintain their longevity and, with it, their control. Okay, so this naturally leads us to the next and, frankly, the most disturbing part of these allegations. If you're going to promise organ replacement on this kind of scale, you've got a massive logistical and ethical problem on your hands. Just where are all these organs coming from? This is the crucial question, isn't it? The one the source document really tries to answer. A normal system of voluntary donation could never, ever meet that kind of demand, not with the speed and precision that would be required. So, what's the alleged alternative? The document claims the answer is something it calls a living organ bank, and it explicitly names these groups as the alleged source, claiming that a huge population of incarcerated people are basically treated as a state-controlled supply chain for fresh organs. The wording the source uses is just incredibly stark. It describes this pool of people as a huge and unparalleled source, which suggests a systematic industrial-scale operation. Now, to back up claims this big, the document doesn't just make statements. It tries to build a case by citing a whole series of outside reports, tribunals, and whistleblower testimonies. So let's take a look at what it points to as evidence. What the source does is create a timeline, trying to show a pattern of investigation that stretches over almost 2 decades. It starts with that 2006 Kilgore-Matas report, then jumps to the 2019 China Tribunal in the UK and brings it right up to recent years with testimonies from people who claim they were medical professionals who either saw or were part of these operations. And to really get a sense of the alleged scale, the source focuses on this number, 41,500. It says this comes from the Kilgore-Matas report, and it represents the number of transplant surgeries over a 6-year period that were unexplained. 41,500 surgeries where the government at the time apparently couldn't identify where the organs came from. This quote, wow, it's presented in the source as part of a testimony from 2022, and it just chillingly reframes a massive population not as millions of people, but as a resource, as a ready-to-go supply of perfectly matched organs. You can see that the source document itself is really a collection of citations. It's weaving together all these different reports and personal stories to create one single, cohesive narrative that alleges a state-run system. And the allegations don't just stop at the border. The source claims that this system has been weaponized in a way as a tool for international influence. It's a practice that it gives a name to: organ diplomacy. So the key idea here is the alleged strategic use of this medical capability. The claim is that by offering fast-tracked organs to foreign leaders or their families, China can gain favor and build up political capital on the global stage. To back this up, the source points to a really stark contrast. A typical patient might have to wait years for an organ transplant, but it alleges that these VIP special channels can get one in a matter of weeks. That kind of timeline, it suggests that donors are being sourced on demand. And to try and make this claim less abstract, the document points to a specific recent alleged case. It involves the family of a former Malaysian leader, and it's presented as a real-world example of how this so-called organ diplomacy actually works in practice. All of this builds to the final major point that the source makes: the intense wall of secrecy that allegedly protects this entire operation. This quote, taken from the source, it's incredibly revealing of the alleged mindset. It claims that the military's number one job isn't national defense in the way we usually think of it. No, it's the personal, physical preservation of the country's leadership. And so, this is where it all comes together. If these allegations are even remotely true, then it makes perfect sense that the 981 Project would be one of the most heavily guarded secrets of the entire state, protected by the full force of the national security machine. And at the end of the day, the source document leaves us with this profound and, honestly, pretty unsettling question. It presents a scenario where the push for elite preservation and state power allegedly just completely overrides any and all ethical and moral boundaries. It forces you to wonder, what lines get crossed when the goal is no longer just a long life, but a guaranteed one?